We are not alone. You are watching Contact TV with your hosts, Leslie Mitchell-Clark
and Wes Roberts,
exploring ufology, metaphysics, and beyond with the world's foremost experts. And we are not alone. And welcome everyone to another episode of Contact TV, whether it's the morning or the afternoon or the evening. We are here, and we are here with another fabulous guest. And of course, I'm here joined as always by Wes Roberts.
Wes Roberts here, and it's a pleasure to be here in studio.
Absolutely. Now, our guest this afternoon, morning, evening is not only a very good friend of ours, but someone who has been involved in ufology, ufology research, and also all kinds of media and other related topics. And we are talking about the National Director of MUFON Canada, Mr. Dave Palachik, and he is here to talk about some recent activities and the direction of MUFON and other fascinating things. Dave, welcome to Contact TV once again.
Thank you.
And you're here in a three-dimensional form. I'm
Actually,
so pleased about that.
Instead of just a flat screen.
And we're 6 feet apart.
We are, and we've all been vaccinated, so we're no complaints from the peanut gallery, please, about any.
Yes, we're good.
Yeah, we're all good. And we're thrilled that you're here and you've taken time out of your busy schedule to come chat with us. And of course, MUFON is ground zero for all things ufologically oriented, and it goes into other subjects as well. And Dave, I know you've been involved very directly with MUFON Canada for about 8 years.
That's correct. Yeah.
I would imagine that during this past year and a half, 2 years, has probably been the most challenging time that you've experienced as yet.
Yeah, on top of the COVID-19 problem, we are seeing our numbers fluctuate up and down like crazy. And of course, right now at this time of year, again, and especially Ontario and some of the other parts of Canada are in a lockdown. The numbers have dropped off terribly. Like we're getting lots of sighting reports, but no actual physical reports to investigate, which makes it difficult. I mean, we can't get hold of witnesses that are sending things out on the internet, and saying they've seen things, but not putting in reports. How do you investigate it? So the sightings are up, but again, the physical reports are down. So it's been an interesting year. Now, 2 years ago when COVID started, everybody was still so anxious to get outside that the numbers skyrocketed.
That's what I thought.
And we are way up there. So, I mean, like last month, we only had 21 reports, but we had over 200 noted cases that were in the media. So 10% are reporting, but 200, it's amazing how many people are actually putting the word out there, where years ago they wouldn't say anything. Right. So that's what's happening. It's been difficult because of that. So we would love people to report so we can get the information and, add to our database. But not only that, just get the word out to most Canadians, that MUFON Canada is here, we're strong, and, we're going to answer your questions the best to our abilities. And, you're right. I've been doing this for 8 years, and we have a lot of field investigators who've been doing it for more than 8 years. So they're really, really tuned into what's going on. And, of course, we do the scientific forensic type investigation. We don't draw conclusions unless we have actual information to do so. Again, speaking about that, too, years ago it used to be 5 to maybe 8% of all reported cases were truly unknowns, where we had to class them as, UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call it, military UAP. We're up to, 2019, we're up to 23%. It's like, that's how the skyrocket effect was. Like, they were really, really, legitimate UFO sightings. We're back down to the 10 or 12% right now, but again, it's because the cases are less. So it's been interesting, and thanks for asking, because it's funny though, MUFON Canada is growing. So we have 5 people studying right now to become investigators. We've just brought in 4 or 5 in the last probably 12 months. So we're in the 50, almost 60 numbers, 60 people that are investigators across Canada. We even have people up north now. We have a young lady in the Northwest Territories.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
from good old Buffalo Air. So she knows what it's all about to be flying too. So she'll probably be qualified in a month or so. and look forward to working with her and her brother, because brother is Mikey McBrien, and he's the guy who was on the Ice Pilots show years ago.
Oh, of course. Of
So, and he's
course.
invited us, myself and Jason, to come up later this summer when the ice is off the lake to investigate a very old UFO crash sighting. So we're looking forward to doing that, and we're taking all our equipment like magnetometers and Geiger counters and things like that, and see if we can find any remnants in the lake, because it was actually reported and investigated by the RCMP back in the 60s when it happened. Not going to give any more away because Mikey's documenting the whole thing, and he's got it up on YouTube, and it's an interesting case, and we hope to get up there this summer. Of course,
fantastic.
COVID.
Well,
I mean, like, provinces are even locking down their own borders internally, so we
They
don't know
are.
if it's on or off.
Well, I think we can look ahead with a certain amount of optimism,
Yeah.
because the vaccinations are happening like crazy, and
I got jabbed, you got
yeah,
jabbed, Wes, you got
everybody's
jabbed.
been jabbed all over the place. So I think we can. But so you are also, aside from the administrative aspect, because that's a big title you're carrying on your big shoulders there. The entire scope of the Canadian ufology experience. Do you think that people are not reporting out of fear, or do you think that the anxiety levels of people are, with the world circumstances, are affecting their likelihood to make reports about high strangeness?
Absolutely right, because the focus is on COVID-19. So people aren't paying attention to other things. They're focused on COVID-19. We're all fed up with it. Things are not happening. Our governments are doing the best they can, but they're still, as far as you ask anybody, it's not good enough. We can't get on with our daily lives. So they're not going to be focused on going outside and looking and reporting things like that. And the other thing is, in talking to a lot of people, just when I have the opportunities, and that's been difficult, is everybody's focused on the reports coming out in June from the National Intelligence and the Navy from the U.S. I mean, they were mandated to report everything, and even some of the greatest ufologists in the world are saying, you watch, it's going to be delayed. We think it's going to be delayed. We know it's going to be delayed. But I don't think the Biden administration is going to put up with that. So I think everybody's waiting to see what happens, and I mean, come on, folks. I hate to say it, but you've been given all the information already. We have a vehicle that's not from this earth, right? That was announced 3 or 4 months ago. The Tic Tac, the Go Fast, the Gimbal, all those ones, 2017 November. I mean, the Navy, it took 3 different times for them to come by and say, yeah, it's a real UFO. Yes, it's a real UAP. Yes, we don't know what it is. It's not ours. 3 different announcements. They've admitted it. U.S. politicians are saying all the time, Senator, how do you say his name? I can never say his name. Rubio. Yeah. I mean, he headed the whole thing up. He's not doing it now. Someone else is taking over, but he's the guy who keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And he actually said they're real. So we know that we're not alone. And if, I hate to say it, but if you think we're the only species in this entire universe, you need to look deeper.
Indeed, and I think if we really look at ourselves,
Yeah.
we can have a very good understanding as to why we haven't been fully invited to participate in the galactic community.
Exactly,
It's like, who is that author? I just read his book, A Wonderful Experiencer, but he said if we want to join the intergalactic community, we have to clean up our own backyard.
Yeah. Who wants to be part of this world that's fighting amongst itself?
Oh my gosh.
Starvation, and we can help people. Like we're a mess.
We are
We're
an
an
effing
infant
mess.
to what else is out there. If
We
anybody can
are.
fly from another world to here, they're not 1,000 years ahead of us. They're millions of years ahead of us. So we're a baby. We're an infant.
Although, and this is of course something that we've often had we've had people on the program, including, Randy Kramer and others, to talk about the existence of a secret space program, which, again, I'm not sure about your feelings about that. I believe it. I am an American. I believe that my
Yeah,
government.
you are.
I believe that my government has lied to me all of my life and before that. So this is no big news.
So
I
you don't
think.
believe in swamp gas and weather balloons?
No swamp gas, no weather balloons.
I hate that. I mean,
no.
50s, eh?
No, I
Yeah.
mean really. And as you said earlier so succinctly, we're not dealing with the naive populace of the 1950s anymore. We're dealing with at least a chunk of it, a savvy population that is educated, that is listening and watching a lot of very esoteric programming that would have never existed a few years ago. And that's also on network TV, not just online. So I think we have a much greater chance of having something happen. But I think the fear is that there would be a false flag incident.
Yeah, that's been tried many times.
It has, hasn't
It
it?
goes all the way back to Ronald Reagan, his speech at the UN Council, right? When he said, imagine if we were fighting a foe from another world.
Oh, yeah.
That was a bit of a false flag to get people to start thinking about
sure
it.
it
But it
was.
didn't work because he didn't do it right.
No.
We've had every president say something that, is a false flag being thrown up. And lately the military's playing games with us. We'll get into Jeremy Corbell's in a little while.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to hear about
There's
that.
games going on, and no, we have grown up. Obviously, we are intelligent, we're educated, as you said. We can make decisions. We don't have mass panicking anywhere around the world for any silly little thing. So I know a lot of people sit there and say, I don't care what they tell me unless they land on the White House's front lawn, I won't believe it. But that's closed, narrow-minded thinking.
Yeah. Well, they tried that. It didn't
Yeah,
work.
it didn't work.
They tried to be open, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
But
the
there
majority,
must be an attraction, right, Dave?
Yeah.
There must be we must be an attraction, is what I'm trying to say to others.
well, we could be, like cheap entertainment, and they're just watching us. Look at this world, look at the mess they've made. Let's watch this. We're also a resource, obviously. So what is an orb? Everybody sees orbs, and orbs have been actually buzzing people and being a little bit more aggressive now, like crazy. That's the number one case anyways. It's usually an orb or a triangle. They're kind of 50-50. But orbs, we've got videos of orbs coming down, hovering over water and seeing something go into the orb and then it taking off and disappearing. It's not stealing water, but it could be stealing elements, atoms, to take back to other worlds. And it's not harming us, that's for sure. And they haven't hurt anybody. I wouldn't want to touch one. I don't know what it is, but how do you capture it too?
Do you think they're like it's like semi-organic drones in a sense?
I don't think
because
they're.
they
I
can
don't
work with
they're-
light and they can work
yeah.
with energy in different ways than we can.
I think they're
Approach.
piloted somehow, but not with something or entity being inside it.
Right.
Because everybody says, well, how can it be? You got orbs that's only about this big. Well, size is irrelevant. Look at the giants from 5,000, 10,000 years ago or millions of years ago. They say we had giants on the planet. Don't believe everything you see on the internet when you see the massive skulls. I can do that in a second. But, and then I helped Rob Freeman figure out the 8-foot one he had, the 5 to 8 foot one. That's huge. And crafts come in all different sizes. The Haas Lake in Alberta incident where we had a video sent in to us of a guy flying a drone, had something pass it, a nice new Pro, one of those high resolution
That
drones.
was amazing footage.
And Mach 12 it flew by at. And it's only about, if you wanted to measure it, 2 feet across, because I had enough frames. It was only 6 frames, but I had enough frames to stop one. And yeah, it's flying by at Mach 12, which was, again, verified by a NASA engineer, and the little comment was not ours. And it's only 2 feet, but that 2 feet could be the same as something we'd build that's 200 feet. So size is irrelevant. Yeah. So it could have been manned. In fact, it probably was. And the man, I used that a very loose term, piloted. Yeah. So there's a lot of things happening out there, and let's talk about Jeremy Corbell. Yes. I love the guy dearly. I've talked to him many times. He's a really good investigator. He's really good at what he does. But I think he had the wool pulled over his eyes or whatever in this last triangle incident where he claimed this Navy night vision was a UFO. Okay, so I got all the footage and I got more information. I got more details from other sources. It's an airplane. It's an airplane flying over an international flight. It matches an international flight. It's a cheap night vision camera that you can buy off Amazon for $500. And it has a little triangle aperture. It only has 3 fins in the aperture, so you get a little triangle that moves in and out, right? The CCD was being saturated by the blinking lights and brightness of the night, so it reflected the aperture inside. It's called the Bokeh effect, or B-O-K-E-H, however you say it, Bokeh effect. And I've seen it because I'm a photographer, right? I've had my high-end DSLR, Canon Pro lenses do it accidentally, and there's 20 fins or more in some of those, the real fancy ones. And I've had the same effect. And the fact is that the stars aligned up on Stellarium, and they were triangular shaped. There was a lens flare that was triangular shaped. So it's just a cheap night vision. That's all it was. And I'm pretty sure the data I got could be collaborated, but it was not a surveillance. It was just a sailor out with his night vision shooting it, and he released it, and the Navy had to come by and say, yeah, it was one of our sailors, but it wasn't a surveillance camera, I'll tell you that, because they use high-end generation 5 or 6. Right. This is like a Gen 1 night vision camera, Gen 1 or 2. So unfortunately, he has not come back to make any comment. I've called him a few times, and I wish he would. And let's get to the bottom. But why is the Navy not saying, yes, it is an airplane, an airliner from overseas on an international flight? Why are they keeping silent? The only thing they said was, it's a guaranteed Navy video. Well, it doesn't mean it's a UAP or UFO. It's a guaranteed, it's a video taken by a sailor, yes. But why are they playing games? I mean, they could admit what it was, but they're playing games, and everybody's sitting on the fence. We got, it's a UAP, it's an airplane. Many, many different ufologists around the world are sitting on one side or the other. I think it's all because of June, because of the report coming out. They don't want to admit anything. They don't want to, they don't want to say it is or isn't. They're trying to get attention, and it's working. People are paying attention.
So the Navy left it open for interpretation.
Right. But it's got millions of people around the world looking at it. Yeah. The hits on YouTube, the hits on Facebook, the hits on the internet, period, are in the millions and millions. Yeah. So people are looking at it. Maybe that's what they wanted it. We won't have mass panic when we finally admit, well, that one wasn't, but these are. And there you go.
Yeah. Well, something that is happening that's a little bit of a phenomena kind of that I see in my area of hypnosis is many, many, many people are coming to me in a big wave and having partially recovered memories of things that they experienced, events of high strangeness, sometimes with craft, sometimes not. But I think that there's a reason that people are waking up, so to speak, right now. I've often said, and Wes, you'll concur, I've often said that I believe that repressed memories are either time dated or that no memories can be repressed forever in the human mind. And either the beings, who put, memory blocks on us, if you want to call it that, either they are timing these things to when we're ready to accept them and understand them, or they just don't know everything about us. And as human beings, we are curious, and our memory is a very complex thing because it's tied with emotions. Right. And I'm not sure that all beings have that kind of, what could I call it, those kinds of functions where the memories are actually, loaded in because of their attachment to emotions. Chemicals are produced that make the memory happen. I think we might be even a little bit unique in that way. So for some reason, many, many people seem to be waking up and in their midlife, and this is not unusual, in midlife, all of a sudden they're having dreams or waking visions, or you name it. And these are people of all walks of life, Dave. These are, you would be amazed, I have, of course, professors, I have a judge, several attorneys, lots of teachers.
Yeah, those are all people who are more attentive and more in tune to things that they observe, but they put the memories away. Into the libraries, I call it. Yes. I mean, I only have so much capacity for what I do and all the different things I'm involved in, but every once in a while I'll sit and relax, and somebody will open up in there, open the door to the library, and something will come rushing out, and so I think, we can remember pretty well everything. It's just all suppressed. And what have we mapped? 100% of the brain, and we understand, 10% of it?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so indeed. There's a lot to go yet.
Oh man, we have no understanding of, there's no such thing as junk DNA, but there is DNA that's, I think, can turn on. Yeah. We're the hybrids. We're the, we have, if I'm to believe many of the respected people, you know, we are carrying DNA of all sorts. We've had various interventions.
We're the aliens on the earth.
We are the aliens. I
Yeah,
mean,
we don't know where we came from. We don't know. We don't understand it.
Not
times
exactly.
And how many times have we been, wiped out and started again? Everybody says we're into our 5th generation of human life on Earth.
At least.
Who knows? We can't prove it.
So Dave, I wanted to ask you about podcasting because I know you were involved and you're going to get involved again. Could you fill us in on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think we did about, I've lost count, about 7 podcasts with various different people. We did some fantastic ones. We've had interesting people come on, and these are the YouTube podcasts. We're not talking audio only, and they're available in audio. Unfortunately, the last couple went south really bad. We had internet problems. I had to change providers. So last fall was probably the last one we did, and everybody's asking where the next one's coming. We're going to hopefully get back. We've got a brand new internet provider. We have a very stable internet, so we're not going to have the stuttering effect. So I figure by the end of the summer, we're going to be doing them once every 3 or 4 weeks. I can give you a lineup. We have Jeremy Corbell keeps saying he's coming on, which is funny because he's not calling me right now, but by the time summer's, that'll all be forgotten about. We have Brandon Frugal from Skinwalker Ranch wants to come on and talk about, because season 2 just premiered.
That's right.
And he's got some other things he wants to share. We have a couple other known ufologists who want to come on to talk about things. And Jeremy also wants to talk in Canada, not the U.S., about some things he's been holding back on. And we're going back to the 2017 Tic Tac incident. But there's been a lot of stuff that's not released that he has. I guess he doesn't want to release it in the U.S. I don't know, but he's going to release it on MUFON Canada's podcast, is what he keeps saying. So I can't wait. Yeah. The only thing is if I can get him. So hopefully with a new computer and a new internet now, we'll be up and running this summer. We're going to be doing, like I said, probably one a month for sure, if not every 3 or 4 weeks. We have a lot of interesting cases from a few years ago where the witnesses have come forward and said, I would like to actually tell more of the story. And we vetted out a few, and the rest, we definitely want to have you on. So it's not like we're not going to have interesting ones, or we have a lineup of people. So that's a good part. So hopefully we're going to get that started, as I said, later this summer. And the second thing is that I am asking for volunteers not to become field investigators. A lot of people saying, how can I help? Well, we have a website that has been updated in 2 years. So I'm looking at somebody who's really good at doing websites, wants to research stuff, and all they have to do is send an article and say, do you want this up? And I'll approve it. And so I need somebody who can help with website design, somebody who can help with research. We'd like to get the people who are asking us to send us information. We got 4,000 or 5,000 names that subscribe to an email list. So if somebody wants to research things from around the world, not just North America, because everybody reads that, we could broadcast it out on our channel, either in a podcast or other way of doing it. But we also have the email contact system that people have been asking for, updates. Every time something happens in the U.S. or Canada, I send it out, and about 5,000 people get it. And I always get good responses. Yeah, give me more, give me more. And of course, we are still looking for membership because we have, it's only $25 a year, but we have to pay for all this service. Yeah. And the FIs, after doing it for many years, get kind of tired of putting it out of their pocket. They have to pay to become a field investigator. They have to cover their own expenses if they go out to a site. I'm part of the STAR team, which is a rapid response. Should there be a landing or something that can be investigated on site, I will drop everything and go. And that's pretty expensive. I got to hop on a plane or a helicopter or drive somewhere. I have done it a number of times, so it gets expensive. But, we would like to be able to get all this covered and to continue to do the work we do. And when COVID finally ends up, we'll be back out doing our little chapter presentations. And I really miss those because I did quite a few. I mean, you guys were at one that we showed up. I loved it. We had a lot of fun. We had Stu Bundy there and Victor and, and the last thing we're hoping is Victor Vigiani came to me and said, why don't we try and do something online while we're waiting to get out in person? So we're looking at doing something like that. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're both going to be involved.
Fantastic.
So it's going to be the Alien Cosmic Expo online because we're definitely not doing it this year. Yeah. So hopefully by summer we'll get that all ready to go, and we'll do something online. We'll do a couple of short ones, and then if that is people want more, then we will have to do a paid one, because then we'll invite some really, really well-known guests.
Yeah.
I think Richard Dolan and Nick Pope have already said they would come and join MUFON Canada again, because they love coming to ACE.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people. I even was going to reach out to Randy Kramer again and see if he wants to do a little bit more of his story. He got cut off. He didn't have enough time at the last ACE he was at, so he had a lot more information he wanted to give to us, so why not put him online?
He has a lot to say about things that are going on recently, and he's also teaching his psionics class now online. So I think that
I saw that.
we're just going to get the name out there, get the information out there, and also, thank goodness, with MUFON, you're giving experiencers, people who have had any kind of an experience, a safe place where they can make a report. And I think, Dave, I'd like you to just maybe reassure people about the confidentiality of what happens at MUFON. People are always asking me about this. Oh, but if I file a report, it'll go on my permanent record or whatever.
Well, first of all, we're not government sponsored. We have no ties to any government in the world, and the police come to us to help do reports. They nothing to do with police or our defense, our Department of National Defense. Actually, we reached out to them. We're trying to get something where they might start passing things off to us, because now we have enough investigators to do it. But confidentiality is number one. Okay, first of all, you don't become a field investigator unless you, one, promise to and adhere to the rules of confidentiality that MUFON has. And I'm a big stickler for that in Canada, because I work in security systems, I work in computer systems. I've done high-end government stuff that I have stories, like unbelievable stories about things I've done, but I can't talk about them, and I never will. And I won't even give any hints of some of the things I've had to do in my career. So, that is number one. So if you tick anonymous, it's not that you're saying don't contact me, because why would you fill out a report? We definitely are not going to put anything out in any form whatsoever. Fact is, if somebody wants something put out, they have to tell us. We don't even ask. If you tell us, hey, I'm willing to go on MUFON's podcast and talk about it, well, we know right away. But if you're an experiencer, guaranteed, it's confidential. Confidentiality is guaranteed. So tick the box that says anonymous, and we guarantee you will not going anywhere else. My investigators get constantly checked. That's me checking. Okay, if I ever see anything on the internet or anything come out, I'm all over them. I've always found out that it's been somebody else, like the witness himself, who leaked the stuff out. That's fine. And when it comes to experiencer, Chad Wanlis, our ERT manager in Canada, is an experiencer himself, as he'll tell you, and he is very good at keeping confidential. And he gets involved in every case. He might have another ERT member deal with it, but he makes sure that we are keeping everything in-house, and we're really good at that. And I'm not going to speak about MUFON and the rest of the world, but MUFON Canada, that's number one priority. So feel free to do a report, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you will always, it's been my experience that MUFON will also, if the person needs help that is beyond the report, I know that you can recommend mental health care professionals and other people who will assist that person. So they're not just going to make a report and be left dangling out there.
No, as you know, we have that in place everywhere in Canada now. Every province has somebody we can have them reach out to.
Excellent.
Of course, it's up to the witness if they want to go forward with it, because it's not free. They have to pay for it. And please, make sure that they know that, and we will tell them that. MUFON is not paying for anything. We have no funds. Wish we had millions. We'd do it. I encourage them all to go. But no, there I go again. But everything is set up. And as you know, Leslie, we have sent a lot of people to a lot of different hypnotherapists across Canada. Indeed. And they've all been helped. Yes. I always get a report back. Thank you very much. It was a worthwhile visit,
First, do no harm.
Yeah.
The job is to help people integrate their experiences, no matter what they are, because in a sense, I'm not even overly concerned whether there's three-dimensional physical evidence that accompanies what happens to people. I think it's a much bigger picture than that. But
it goes back to you talking about what we've repressed in our memories, back thrown into our libraries,
Yep.
And it's time to get them all out. It also makes me wonder if something's going on in the world that these memories are coming out. It's a timing of our evolution.
There is something.
We've grown up. I said we've grown up, and maybe that's what's sparking it. knowing no more than really 10% of the brain, like who knows what we're capable of doing.
Well, I know that in many communications that people relate to me by many different species, if you will, we're kind of known as the grand experiment. We have, because there are a lot of souls on this planet with a lot of very mixed DNA at very different levels of evolution. I mean, you've got people who are racists and idiots, and you've got the Dalai Lama, and we have an incredible planet of, well, not just diversity, but polar opposites. So,
yes.
and it's all happening together. But the messages that people are getting are about oneness. They seem to be always about oneness, and also about preserving the planet. Those original messages that Betty and Barney Hill heard are still being repeated.
But we're not doing enough about it when it comes to saving the planet.
No,
And you and I know that.
but there's an awareness.
There's an awareness.
And there's Uncle Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, Uncle Joe. But let me make a comment on him. We talked about we've grown up. That's my term. We've grown up, and things are happening, and we don't know why things are happening. Why is suddenly in the U.S. actually doing this? Getting out of Afghanistan finally after 20 years. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If they go blow themselves up, that's nothing to do with us, but at least we're not making an international conflict. So there's things changing that I thought I would never see in my lifetime. I thought they'd be there for the rest of my lifetime. Yeah. And he's actually pulling them out. I think we pulled ours out last year, didn't we? But anyways, NATO's still there. It's more NATO troops than there are U.S., but still, there's hundreds of thousands of people over there. I should know. My nephew had 4 tours in Iraq. As an airline, an aviation mechanic, and then a bomb ordnance guy. So he's still in it. He's doing it well. He's a trainer now.
Well, there's a lot going on over there, not to mention the incredible amounts of discoveries which point to an alternative history.
Oh, geez.
And they're not very happy about that, especially in Egypt. They're really riled up about the whole idea that many of the old kingdom mummies are not only loaded with cocaine, but they're genetically European. Big,
you figured that one out. I can't.
It's a big one.
Either that or they're all aliens. The gods were actually aliens because
I think Euro DNA is in fact.
I love ancient aliens. That because everything they talk is true. I mean, why is there pictures carved 5 years ago or 5,000 years ago of spaceships? They didn't. We didn't have the imagination back then that we have now. So, like I said, we've been growing up, and then you go back to finding things that academia is saying this is 5,000 years old. And being restudied to go, well, we made a mistake. It's 500,000 years old. Oops. It was from another time when we were on the planet. When it was like there's so many things coming out. If somebody would sit down and categorize and tell the truth, we will rewrite every history chapter in our life.
Oh, don't you know it?
We've been fooled for years. Okay. So like there's so many things going on. It's amazing. Just
a few days ago, last week, there were some incredible cave paintings that were discovered, I believe, in Eastern Europe. And the interesting thing about these cave paintings is they are too recent to have been made during the era of the dinosaurs. In fact, these are post-flood, antediluvian. These are post-flood cave drawings, and they are drawings of dinosaurs that you and I would find familiar, that you saw in films like Jurassic Park.
Right.
Triceratops, the long vegetarian.
But did they put a date on those yet? I'm waiting.
Well, the date is more recent. Yes. They have a date. The date is more recent than the, what should we call the demise of the dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs,
In other words, it's after perhaps the meteor shower or whatever it was that happened. So so what this says is dinosaurs survived.
Somewhere, yes.
Somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I was waiting for them to say they're 500,000 years old, or they can't give us a date, but we know it's post-dinosaur era.
That we know.
And these people would not know anything about them.
No.
Okay, we only know them because we've dug up fossils.
That's right.
That's how we know about them.
And a couple of weeks ago in Chile, you were speaking of giant skeletons. There was a 10, 12-foot skeleton found with a unknown cryptid snake-like creature wound around him.
Yeah, amazing, eh? I like the fact they're finding mummies or skulls, and they find like surgical implants and stuff in them. That gets me. The one skull they found with the big metal plate in his head from 10,000 years ago or more, and they go, okay, if they didn't even know how to fix a tooth and didn't have any drills, how'd they put a plate in this guy's head? And these aren't lies. These aren't fake.
No.
These are all vetted as real.
Indeed they are.
But the thing that bothers me the most right now, and I'm a part-time professor like Wes, but I'm going to yell at academia anyways.
Okay,
They
you
are
go ahead.
suppressing so much information.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not Catholic, so don't kill me for this, but the Catholic Church is suppressing so much information. Come on, guys. If the U.S. actually gives us a report and says they're real and here's the proof, everybody else has to turn around and do the same. And I'm hoping it starts a landslide.
Well, the Vatican's been sitting on the most arcane information since the dawn of time, and and if they weren't really into this, why would they have incredible telescopes run by the Jesuits?
Yeah, why are they watching?
All over the world.
Yeah, why
what
are they watching?
looking at?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
why?
And tell me they're not looking for God, because if you can see God in a telescope, we're totally wrong. Something's wrong here.
Yeah, if we see a little, no, we got it wrong. But don't they? They're ancient books. There was even a story that got suppressed real quickly about a decade ago, where they were doing some renovations at the Vatican in some very ancient part, and came across some graves, some skeletal beings were discovered that had enlarged heads.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there were ancient beings actually interred at the Vatican.
Wow,
And
makes
the
you wonder how's that
Vatican
possible.
must be a much older site even than St. Peter's establishment.
Again, suppressed information.
Again, it's
Yep.
got to have some significance that goes that antedates St. Peter the apostle.
Apostle.
Sorry.
Is this the imposter? Oh, Freudian slip there, and it's the
No,
truth.
that
Yeah.
was my little joke, my little Catholic girls' school joke.
Okay. Oh, hats off to that. I got a question for you too. You've heard me rant about this before. There's 4 possibilities about aliens, ETs, whatever. And I've always said they're either 1 coming from another world, the 2 coming from a parallel universe, 3 it's another dimension, or it's us coming back in time travel, which they finally proved that is possible. Can't go forward, but you can go backwards. And I read all the scientific journals, and it's really complex. I'm not going to get into it. But of those 4 possibilities, what do you 2 believe it really is? What is the number 1? Why we're being visited, or if we're being visited?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all. I think we're in a multiverse and I think cosmology has a very different construction than we have been led to believe. We
understand.
We live linear,
Yeah.
third density lives.
Yes.
And that's so we can kind of accomplish things. But I think in reality, space-time is more like an onion, more like layers. So I think that some of the visitations that we experience are multidimensional ultra-terrestrials,
Right.
I believe. I also think that those beings do a lot of projecting of themselves with how
They might not be here.
rather than physically
Right,
showing
exactly.
up. I think we're seeing a lot of
Yeah.
projections as well. I think that Earth has been a desirable place, a resource-filled place for many, many beings
This is a beautiful
throughout
planet.
history.
This is a beautiful, beautiful
and,
planet.
Look, the Anunnaki were digging gold
Yep.
out of South Africa. There were something like 33 million tons of copper missing from the Great Lakes areas. So there have been these incursions, I think. And I also think that, time is not really real. And I think it's entirely possible that we could have visits from evolved beings that are essentially us. I
Coming back,
think
yeah.
all of those things are possible, and we're going to, very soon in our schedule, we're having the incredible Mike Patterson join us, and he's going to also be talking about perhaps the Earth's most evolved indigenous beings. We're going to have a talk with him about that. What we're talking about, of
Cool.
course, Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And within the realm of experiencers, I have had a number of people tell me that they have seen cryptid beings either transporting down in a beam
Right.
from a craft or transporting up. So there's a big story there, and something that has not been really explored in any kind of way. We have been dismissive
No,
about
you're
these.
right.
We've been completely dismissive and fearful about these beautiful beings, but I know Mike is going to shed a lot of light on that. So I think
I'll
it's
tune in
all of
for
those
that.
things, Dave.
Yeah,
I think it's
okay.
a quantum universe. We know that there's I know from experiences in regressing people into the afterlife and into the interlife that advanced beings from other planetoids are moving about freely in what we call the afterlife. Now, either they have passed and they're in a spirit form, or they are vibrating at a high enough level where they can just simply move about in spiritual realms. I don't know.
An
but
unknown
they are
dimension,
there.
too.
They're there.
So we know there's 11 dimensions. Scientists have proven. Everybody goes, there's only 3. Well, 4 is time. What's 5, 6, 7? What's all the way up to 11? You got to go read it. They're very in depth and stuff. But let's say the 21st dimension. There could be somebody standing right beside you, listening to all this, but we can't see them, we can't feel them, we can't acknowledge them because they're in a totally different, out of phase, total different dimension. So that's why I call other dimensions. And suddenly drifts through. You see them for a minute, they're gone. Him or her or it or whatever. So I got a question for you, Wes. Do you believe, because this is what I'm finding, that most people are fearful of the actual acknowledgement, those who are fearful of the actual acknowledgement that we're not alone, that we're going to end up into an interstellar war?
I do not, actually.
Good, 'cause I don't either, so explain.
No, I do not believe that. All my experiences, and if I add them up, they come up to about 50, 60 experiences at this point. Most of them have been helpful.
Okay.
The races I think we're dealing with here are friendly races. I've been empowered, actually. And it was one of the questions I was going to throw back your way.
I want to throw it to you because you've had the experiences I haven't.
No, I mean how MUFON deals with that.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
we can put that on hold for a
But you
sec.
have not found one aggressive experience at all.
I have no aggressive experiences. I have some that I would consider negative because they frighten me. But
but that's
few.
not aggressive. That's not, they're going to come here and have war with us.
I've never had that impression.
Okay.
And Leslie and I have done some sessions where I'm sort of channeling a being live in real time, and it has never given us that impression.
So I ask you this question because those are fearful that when they finally admit, and then they know that we know, I hate to say it that way, and they come here, that they think there's going to be a war. I want everybody to understand, if they were going to be aggressive and do something to us, they would have done it years ago.
Oh, yes.
They've been coming for millions of years here, and that's been proven.
Yeah.
So don't be fearful of it.
Yeah. There's nothing to be fearful of. I really detest the fearmongers. I really hate that. I don't see any evidence of it, Dave. And all these people, all these years that I've regressed to their experiences, by and large, they are having enlightening spiritual experiences, and those people also primarily seem to have made some sort of agreement in the interlife.
Yeah,
that they would be involved in. I often use this expression. I see all of us that do this kind of work as midwives of disclosure.
Yeah.
I hope that we will see that kind of openness in our lifetime, but if we don't, I don't really care, because we're here at ground zero using all of the tools we have at our dispensability, television, radio, books, everything we have to comfort people and make them understand that they are more than what they are seeing in this 3D bag of mostly water, as they said in Star Trek.
Yeah, that's what we are. So Wes has said he's never had an aggressive experience. Negative I can understand, and a little fearful I can understand because you don't understand it. Right. So all the people that you have talked to, you've never had somebody who said they're coming to hurt us.
Never.
See, so what's the world worried about?
Never. And I mean, all the diverse beings I've heard about too. Well, our own Paul Hellyer said the Canadian government is recognizing like 83 different species. I think it's more than that, but people certainly talk about different species and how they are, but anybody that's capable of superluminal travel now, I think, has gotten past the idea of war and domination. I really do actually believe, from what I've heard, that there is a sort of a Gene Roddenberry Federation of planets.
Yeah, I got a feeling there is too, because how would the universe get along without having some sort of agreement?
There is.
With 80-some or thousands of species,
Yeah.
millions even.
I think the fear is that it's true.
Yeah.
I really have to say that, because that's what my fear of going to see Leslie in the first place is, that it was not true. That was my fear, that my experiences were not so, but they were.
They were.
And I think a lot of people are afraid of the fact it might be true.
Well, there are many people, by the time they come to see me or somebody like me or even make a report, they are having serious questions about their mental health.
Yeah.
And they probably, if they ventured forth to talk to their religious person or even a psychiatrist, you know, the results have not been great.
Yeah.
So there have
unfortunately that's the way we live today. Peer pressures and family pressures.
So
and
we're like the last chance Texaco.
Yeah, you're not adhering to the norms. We don't talk like that. Well, you know what? We need to change all that.
Yeah.
And I hope that's what I hope June the report is true and it comes out and little D disclosure becomes big D disclosure. You know, full disclosure.
Big
and that's all I can hope for. And then we'll be sitting down again immediately right after and going over everything. I mean, like I am going to have so many people on podcasts to explain it all because I'm sure it's going to be complex.
Well, it's complex because we have to throw away, in a sense, our traditional idea of the way the universe, but we have to get on board with quantum physics.
Yeah.
So to really kind of get a grip of what's happening.
Absolutely.
But I'm just in a state of excitement, really, not fear.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have nothing to fear. I've seen enough. And if people want to say, Dave, do you believe? Look, I've read so many reports. I've investigated so many things. My investigators are working other ones. Once they find something, they'll let me know about it because of being the head of MUFON. I know what's going on. I know it's all true. I also have been down in the Mojave Desert and experienced things myself personally. So I have seen things
Next show.
that I know.
Next show, we're going to talk about that.
Orbs, crafts, you name it. 7 days, chasing scorpions away, watching for snakes and keeping eyes in the skies. And I went down with Rob Freeman and Mark McNabb and crew, and we had Paulo Harris, all sorts of people down there, and we had a wonderful time. And yes, we experienced things. And that is another show because I've never really talked about it. I've got pictures, I've got things, and it's something to be watching all these reports for 8 years and then to go down, that was in 2017, and experience it yourself. I know as a kid I've seen something, I've experienced some things. It's again in the library and I'm in no panic or rush to get it out. I don't care about that because I'm living in the now. I don't care what I saw in the past because I've always believed this all my life. I went into nuclear engineering for that purpose because I wanted to know more, and then I quit that because I found some stuff I didn't like. I went into computers so I could do more. And so the Mojave Desert was a great experience to see things firsthand. The only thing could have made it better if somebody landed. But I don't think they're ready to do that yet. And if they do, they don't do it when anybody's around.
So, Dave, we haven't covered how can folks know more about MUFON?
So, okay, right.
Canada.
Okay, MUFON Canada, thank you. Well, we do have a website, but I'm really anxious to get that updated and stuff. It's pretty bad. But
Facebook?
MUFONCanada.com. We have MUFON Canada Facebook. You just ask to join. Please fill out the questions because if you don't fill out the questions, I deny it because they're bots just throwing out things. So I don't care if you just want to join and don't answer the question. It could be a bot and I'm going to say no. Right now we also have MUFON Quebec. It's a separated one so you can do all French and other languages. MUFON Canada Facebook is more English and French. But I'm not putting other languages up on there because it's not fair to the 10,000 or more subscribers we have. I don't know how many we've got now. It's crazy. We're signing up like 21 to 30 members every single day who want to get part of that. We don't have a Twitter account. We do, but we're not using it right now because nobody can monitor it. So we do have MUFON Canada on Twitter, but there's no activity on it. Info@MUFONCanada.com is our #1 email address.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because we're volunteers right across Canada, there's no office, there's no phone, but email is how people go. But I really encourage you to go to MUFON or MUFONCanada.com, click on Report a UFO, and you have 3 choices: abduction, ET sighting, and of course UFO. And you tick one of those, and then you fill out the report. And please, I guarantee an investigator will get back to you. We don't ignore any single case. It takes time sometimes. If we're having a flap like we're having in BC right now around Abbotsford in the mountains, we're having something going on there. So we're putting concentration in there because, again, we're getting sighting reports, but no reports. So my investigators are actually going out to find these people who are putting things up on the internet because we're getting officers putting stuff up, and so it's something going on out in the mountains in BC. We have something going up in northern Quebec right now. So sometimes we have to take investigators from other provinces to help work on them, but we will get to your case. And it's usually no longer than 30 days. That's the most. It's usually within a week.
Wonderful.
So
Thank
get
you.
hold of us.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave Palachik. It's been just a delight
Anytime.
chatting with you again.
Yeah.
An extra delight because we haven't seen any other beings for a while. I see my husband, but that only takes you so far.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just kidding.
Well, after June, you're probably going to come to our podcast, and we'll talk about
We
what
would
else is
love
disclosed,
to.
and we'll do
Would
that. But
love
thank you.
to.
Anytime. Call me anytime.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave Palachik. And
Bye, all.
thank you to our listening audience, viewing audience. And we'll see you again. And remember,
You
we are not alone. We are not alone. You are watching Contact TV with your hosts, Leslie Mitchell-Clark,
and Wes Roberts.
exploring ufology, metaphysics, and beyond with the world's foremost experts.